Hello.
Welcome back to the second matchup of our seventh National Lounge League. Last weekend? No, the weekend before.
Yeah, 2 weekends
Sunday.
ago.
Yes, 2 weekends ago.
With two different decks, right? The first one was not those two. That was...
yeah, Dihada and Stick Fingers was the first matchup.
and now we got the real deck of the tournament. The good Reanimator deck.
Yes, it's Aminatou.
And
Yeah,
Aminatou.
it's a funny one. You see Marcus, you've seen him playing on cam a couple of times, Skid Rock and a few homebrews, and on the right side is Samuel playing.
Also
Kinky
in some
Kong.
of the videos.
Also in some
More
of the
like
videos.
a lot of the videos.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them are Reanimator aficionados. Marcus is most often doing some stuff with the graveyard when he's playing Magic.
Yep.
In this case, so is Samuel. They, despite playing the same commander, they have quite a different approach on this list. As far as I know, Marcus plays a version that features a lot of counter magic, while Samuel decided to only include the tempo counter spells, Daze, Spell Snare, Mental Missive, stuff like this.
Yeah, most of them to secure the win instead of actually controlling the game or stalling. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Samuel is more of a combo player usually, so that kind of makes sense. And Marcus really enjoys like grindy games a lot of the time. So
that's true. Unfortunately for this match, as you can see, we had the time, not the time counter, the live counter outside of the camera because I was unable to check when they started the match. I had to drive our artist to the train station. And so we're not keeping track of the live total, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's usually one person gets the board and that person usually wins. So
exactly. That's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, so they played before. I think they played in round 4 already, while both being at the top table. So this is the rematch, and Samuel won the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if this one goes differently.
Yeah, he said after the match, or I think after the first match they played this day, he talked to me and said he has a feeling that in the mirror match the more counter heavy deck is favored, which makes sense, since he can simply hinder Samuel to get through your reanimation spells and get your buddies on board, and in return Marcus can try to develop his game plan. What's a bit annoying here, by the way, we see Marcus not correctly resolving the Tainted Indulgence because he should discard only one card. I think it doesn't matter later in the game, but if there would be a case in which he's stuck on 4 mana to use the Unburial Rites and the Magister is a worthy target, that would have been a thing, but it's not. Back to topic. When you play against Aminatou, the big problem is if you run a reanimation game plan on your own, it's not really the best idea to steal their targets because they can just flicker them back. This is something people might have experienced when playing Dihada against Aminatou, or there's also Stick Fingers, and I think these are the three main.
Stick Fingers usually kills, but
Stick Fingers also sometimes has to steal targets from your opponent. Yeah. But it's especially against Dihada it's much better, but against Aminatou it's just not good because you have limited time until your opponent just plays Aminatou and gets back the target, and then they get the trigger and
It's still fine. Like if you have a counter spell to protect yourself against the Aminatou cast, you can. If you survive 2 turns with a reanimation target, you will usually win the game. So it's not like that line is completely out of the world.
In this
but
matchup,
you have to.
yes,
You have to think about it at least.
Yeah, in the mirror matchup, I agree with you. But talking of the Hada and Stick Fingers, they do not have access to counter magic.
Right.
And you cannot really prevent your opponent from casting a command zone. So that's a problem. But pretty slow start for both of them.
Yeah.
We see
the spirit card. What's his name called again?
Occult Epiphany.
The Cold Epiphany is usually a very good card in this matchup because you can make a few dudes that actually pressure your opponent without being locked into casting something impactful like a reanimation spell. So those are usually very annoying in the mirror, but he only discarded 1 card with this, so he only made 1 dude.
Yeah.
So not that relevant because...
and also because both have a trial ambition resolved.
Yeah, the trial... well, if you made like 3 spirits, this trial would not look that great, but with
That's
only
true.
1...
That's true. Yeah, I remember one test game when I played the breakfast pile, which is we will show in a video soon, against Samuel. He managed to beat me down with 3 or 4 spirits.
Yeah.
He couldn't find any targets, but it was enough because I couldn't get rid of the spirits.
Yeah,
and 4 damages to... Yeah, I like it a lot.
Good. Yeah, it's even so good that I feel like this might even be played outside of Reanimator piles. I've seen some people play it in Gerson. Of course, that list really synergizes with the 1/1s.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's just a good card in general, especially being instant speed.
So in here, we talked about this decision later on. Marcus was gambling that Samuel does not have another white source to cast Aminatou next turn.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would have flickered his agent back, and that would have been a bad decision. The safe play would have been to just reanimate the Ashen Rider and exile the Scrubland. This way you give your opponent an out, especially because we see that Marcus has nothing in hand to interact with that. I think both players have a balance in hand, and now he decides to reanimate the Ashen Rider too. And Samuel says, okay, I'm on one land. There's no way I'm getting back from that.
Oh yeah, but the Animator lists the Reanimator lists especially are pretty light on white as far as I remember, because most of the reanimation and discard spells are black and blue.
Yeah.
And so seeing your opponent in this position, this play feels like it's a good chance to take, especially in a mirror where everything is very 50-50. And taking risks like this can provide you with huge edges that you cannot really gain otherwise.
Yeah.
So I feel like this wasn't too bad. He also saw the hand with the Gitaxian probe earlier, so he knew some of the cards, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think both had a balance in hand, and Samuel could have casted it in order to get rid of the creatures at least. But not
he had no
white
white,
source.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And then he would have to gamble to draw into a white source.
Yeah.
And if that's not the case, next turn Marcus is going to start flickering the Ashen Rider, and Samuel is never getting above 2 lands on board.
After those 2 resolves, this game was over, obviously.
Yeah, there's no point in bringing this any further. So, interesting decisions in terms of reanimation targets. I personally think Iona is currently not the strongest card, because the metagame is filled with lots of 3 and 5 color decks. We don't see that many 4 color decks, but at least 3 color decks. So I think, the card is very strong, but there are better targets.
I feel like this is just a silver bullet against aggro decks.
Yeah, and I talked to him.
Stonewall, White Weenie, and red deck wins with this. It's very bad, obviously, against the control decks that are running around. If you play against Tivit, it's very bad. It's bad against the Neo Atraxa. It's bad against Nif Mizzet. And but if you want a card that basically wins you the game on the spot against a lot of the aggro decks in the format, this is maybe one of them. So
yeah, it might be good against Yoshi, Boros, and all that, but also depends on the timing, because if you can manage to bring her down on turn 2, turn 3, turn 2 would be insane. Turn 3 would already be pretty good.
Yeah.
But for the later games or situations, this is probably not what you're looking for. If your opponent already has huge board development and Iona is not really taking part in denying them any further.
It's funny how we're basically not play-by-play casting at all. Because the actual plays don't really matter, because they're basically just like drawing cards and throwing stuff at the wall and hope something sticks.
Yeah.
And we're just here, okay, yeah, maybe this card makes something of a difference, but yeah. That's what's both said about this matchup. It's very coin flippy, and in the first match, Samuel won the coin flip, and we don't know yet who won it the second time, unless you were there at the tournament or followed us on Facebook or something.
Yes, exactly. Then you already know who decided this game for themselves.
Yep.
But yeah, now we're in a situation. There are no targets in any graveyard yet.
Yeah.
We have an Aminatou cast. Samuel cannot play his miscalculation. Then there are 2 targets, I think, in his hand, or 1 at least, but he has no discard outlets. Also left with only 1 black. And if Marcus manages to, and he will, there is a frantic search, as we see.
Very good card.
At that point, we are debating about whether or not this or the original frantic search is better to have. But in terms of old bordered foiled, both cards are beautiful, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
discarding the Rune Scar Demon here.
Yes, and if I remember correctly, that was the turn when... That was the game when Marcus had lots of DTs overall.
With the new card that gives your opponent a choice of 2 cards.
Yeah, there's also the burning rune,
Yeah.
whatever, burning rune demon, I think. I have no idea how it's called exactly.
So the stack usually gets a lot of searching any card, which is very nice, obviously.
Yeah. And now, Samuel's already in a pretty bad spot. There is the Runescar Demon on field. Marcus will flicker it, and he can just fill his hand with counter magic now.
Yeah.
To deny all the shenanigans Samuel could potentially bring up.
The sad part about Miscalc. It was like when in the old meta game, before the ban waves, I feel like these kind of board states never happened.
Yeah.
And Miscalc was always live, but since like a year or something, I'm like, Miscalc can be so bad because games go so long and you have like face like 10 mana sometimes.
But let's be honest,
of course cycling is still fine. But yeah.
You take part in this disaster because you play CMC 6 and 7 and whatsoever commands.
Well, I'm just playing, in my opinion, the best control. Like, maybe my opinion will change on that when I try the new Atraxa, but
I'm definitely excited to see the new Atraxa. I like the idea of having green added to the pool. Slightly increases your quality of interaction.
And the enter the battlefield is just way better than Tivit. It's like I played the mirror against the Atraxa player at our tournament that played top 8. We both played a win and in against each other. And besides me being very bad at that game and making a lot of mistakes, I think just the fact that if he gets to resolve his commander, he wins, and if I get to resolve his commander, he has like another turn to actually interact with me. And that just killed me. So the control mirrors definitely feel very good for that Atraxa deck.
Yeah, I can believe so. I mean,
misstepping a Enlightened Tutor is like the worst feeling ever.
Is it? I think it's fine. I mean,
I hate that play, but I don't hate it for the play because it's probably right, but it just feels bad because you could get your opponent for a 2-for-1 if you let it resolve and counter the spell. But
yeah, that is true. But he knew that he will probably not be able to misstep the target.
No, that won't.
Marcus
happen.
Would find so.
Yeah, not a lot of 1-drops in the Aminatou deck. A few, but not like a bunch.
And there is a Necromancy, yeah.
And more
Here
DTs.
We go again. So there was a window, I was just about to say, when Samuel would have been lucky to have a different land than Otavara as a 4th land drop. He would have been able to let Marcus get 1 trigger from the reanimation and then bounce it back to hand once he tries to flicker it, which would have forced Marcus to play Lily in order to get it back and then reanimate it, but it would have been a completely different situation.
Yeah, and also still you're like discarding a card to prevent your opponent from winning the game even harder. It's not like you're actually doing anything, you're just like stalling the game for another turn.
That is true too.
So yeah, the fact that Aminatou is here on the board and we got another creature, like the reanimator spells in Samuel's hand are all very bad, don't really do a lot.
Yeah,
and
he's clearly missing some discard.
Yeah,
and Marcus has the full quality
package
in hand.
Well, if you DT 3 times, you usually have those cards in hand.
It was funny because after the game we talked and he was like, at some point my DT in hand even felt ridiculous. Like I was not even about to thinking about casting it when you have like the demon getting a free DT every turn.
It's the rich get richer.
Yes.
He already has all the cards he needs, but he could get another one. But here we get what? Why did?
So yeah, end of turn. Samuel wants to. He is at 8 cards, but we're not at the end of turns yet because Samuel is casting the Epiphany, and also Marcus. I think he forgot to. Did he forget? No, he played the Necromancy now, so he was not able to attack. Okay, there is a counter spell.
No reason to discard now.
Exactly.
It was kind of weird. I had like. I've never seen this one, but I had 2 people going aggressively to discard step. Usually people like, if they go to discard step, they like, end of turn, you won't do anything, and then they discard actually. But in this game, and in like 2 games I had, people just did main phase 2, and then was like, okay, I'll discard this. And I was like, oh, wait, I want to cast a spell. And there was no reason for them to give me that information, what card they wanted to discard or what card they have in hand. Or even that they would actually discard a card. And
maybe this is more because you're not used to be at 8 cards, and then it's like, okay, you just want to make sure your cleanup step is handled appropriately.
Yeah, maybe. Also, it's because Tivit games take ages, and they just want to.
Yeah, that could be another case. So,
but that's just a lie because I had a nice lunch at the tournament. I had the time.
I think it was, as always, a pretty good time. We had We said that in the last video already. We had a lot of guys from the Czech Republic again, and
Yep.
we had lots of players joining from Strasbourg.
Yep.
There's another community that's supporting us.
Yeah.
They have an event soon. It's the LTC, I think,
Yep.
on March 11. You should check it out if you have time.
It's at the
And
same
if it's-
day as Prague, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why we are not going.
Otherwise, we would have went to Strasbourg. Yes.
Yeah, we will. It's we will finally be all back at Prague this time of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
The gang is back together.
The gang is back.
And what's also
Yeah,
back
with-
is
with-
show and tell. Also,
Yeah, show and tells. Yeah, when I don't know. What do you think about this card? In the reanimator piles,
it's obviously a very strong card, and it feels like just a meta game choice. And it is,
this is so bad. My problem about this card currently is there are so many matchups that
play
can
big
do
boys.
shenanigans with
Yeah.
this. I think you don't want to feature it in
I
any deck
don't
right
think
now.
it feels not great at the moment. The meta is very graveyardish.
Yeah.
it's
And here I
actually
was
insane.
shortly interfering because I thought I mistaken it for Eureka for a moment. I'm obviously biased by all the Sliver Cascade games we've had with the Hypergenesis pile. Because I thought like, Samuel, what are you doing? You have like 4 targets in hand. Like, come on, bring them out.
Eureka is
Same-
green.
Yeah, exactly. So is Hypergenesis.
Yeah.
Yeah. But another reason to not play.
Show and tell. For
tell.
that matchup,
So,
it's also very bad.
What exactly did the Trial of Ambition was exiled? No, that was exiled by the Force of Negation. Why is Samuel decided to? Okay, never mind. The game is already over.
That was just too many DTs.
Yes, I think
While we
that's a
we
nice
actually got
summary.
to a state where the game could have been competitive if Marcus didn't have the perfect 7 in hand. This could have been interesting, but
Yep. Absolutely.
it's just
Okay.
just too much stuff.
On to the finals, either with Martin or Samuel. Maybe we will do it all together. Let's see.
Let's see who has time.
Hope you enjoyed the match.
Yep. And our rambling. This was
Yes.
very rambly.
True.
But it's a
Okay.
good game for rambling.
That's also true. Good. Thanks
So,
for watching. See you next time.
See you next video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.